Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Ryan, also known on Discord as Question, and I am one of the senior community managers here at 505 Games. And we are here today interviewing Rena Strober, who is the voice of Bloodless and our singing fairy in Bloodstained. And here she is. Rena, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Hi, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
This is great. I love any opportunity to interact with the fans of the games and just be a part of it.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, the last time we interviewed you was a long time ago. I think it may have been 2018 or 19, something like that. And we interviewed you actually in the recording studio for Bloodstained.
Yeah, I think it must have been 2018 because I just had a baby. That's now turning 4 years old next week. And I can see the exhaustion in my eyes. I'm still exhausted, but yeah, I think that was 2018.
Probably. So it isn't that it takes a long time to make video games, but it actually takes a really long time to make video games. But the game has been out now almost 2 years, and one of the characters that you played in it, Bloodless, is absolutely a fan favorite. And so what I'm curious is what you kind of knew about the character when they first asked you to do the voice for it.
Well, when I was hired to do the game, I knew I was playing a little girl and a singing fairy because I do a lot of musical characters because I'm a singer. So I went in, having pitched my voice high, and I worked on my young girl stuff, and I worked on the little girl for a while, and then I sang for a while. And then they surprised me with Bloodless. I don't remember, and again, it could be parenthood exhaustion, but I don't remember knowing. And then they presented her to me, and I was so excited because she was a grown-up, and she was hot. But then the more they showed me pictures, because they were wonderful about giving beautiful descriptions and character descriptions, and then they started talking about the fact that she needed to suck people's blood. And I don't ever remember getting nauseous in a recording session before. I was like, we need to take a break. Oh my God. But it was so exciting because I had pitched my voice so high for the first few hours. And usually voice actors, your voice gets tired. And when your voice gets tired...
When you're doing Anne and the fairy, you have the higher pitch.
Yeah, and you're pitched higher. And then your voice just wants to settle and rest. And it was the perfect place for Bloodless. I was glad we waited until the end. That might have been why they did that, to wait until I was ready to just go deep into my voice.
Since the game has come out, there's been a lot of footage around this character. I don't know if you've been able to see any of the video. There's an entire mode. I don't know if you know this. There's a Bloodless mode where you get to run through the game as Bloodless, beating monsters with your umbrella and raining blood and all that.
She's like an adult Mary Poppins in that scene.
Yes, I bet that is exactly how most people describe her, as an adult Mary Poppins for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't play video games. I grew up on Atari and then I sort of stopped, but I love watching playthroughs. I love watching other people play the games. So I have watched a good amount of people playing this, and I have watched Bloodless, and I still can't get over how gross it is. It's disgusting. But she's so confident, and I usually voice young girls, sweet people. I did play Esmeraude in Sailor Moon for all of the Crystal redubs, and that was the only other, she's evil, Esmeraude, so this was the only other woman with a mission to kill that I'd really gotten to play, and I love watching it. Sometimes I don't even know it's me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not playing a 10-year-old? That's so cool.
Yeah, you'll be happy to know that Bloodless is the only character that we're restricted in how we play the trailers for that character on YouTube and stuff, because there's too much blood.
There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of blood.
I mean, when you first meet her, she's literally in a bathtub of blood.
Yep, and it's funny because Esmeraude in Sailor Moon, I'm in a bathtub, like a big martini glass at one point. I'm like, I guess I like women who bathe in what they love.
Do you think you're getting typecast as a?
You know what? Probably.
So why do you think Bloodless is such a hit with the fans?
I mean, she's a kick-ass woman. And you don't see a lot of women like that in games. I do a lot of anime and, a lot of wonderful English versions of Japanese games. And there's a theme with women and girls being very meek and a lot of times subservient or sweet. But man, is she the opposite. And I just think 2021, it's refreshing. I think women and girls are starting to play video games more, and that's what they want. And so I love that. And she's just, she's a little different. She's outside the box, and she welcomes in people outside of the gaming genre because she's different.
That's very cool. So talking about differences, so you do the English voice for these characters, and obviously someone else did the voices for the Japanese characters. They're very different. Bloodless especially. I don't know, have you had a chance to hear the Japanese dub of Bloodless at all?
No. Sometimes they play it for you in the recording session to get the not the pitch, but the intonation. So I possibly heard it then, but...
Well, it's very anime in style. It's much more high pitch than the English Bloodless. So I know one of our fans talked about it's almost like choose your own character. You can choose the Japanese if you want sort of this kind of personality, or the English version if you want this kind of personality. So
yeah, it's interesting. There's some games I've worked on, like the Persona 4 games, that we keep our pitch very similar to the Japanese versions and other games too. But one thing I loved about this session and I love about this game is that they weren't trying to dub to be exact. They were giving audiences, like you said, two different options, and both are good. And they're different. And I love that we weren't, as actors, asked to do a voice match. Because it's a great job to do a voice match, but as an actor, to be told that we can create our own voice is the dream.
So one of the other characters that you did is the singing fairy, also known in the game, and I actually realized I've never heard this name pronounced out loud, but it's Karabos or Karabas. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Who's this a fairy who follows Miriam along as a familiar, and there is an Easter egg in the game where in the game there's a piano, and if you run by the piano, Miriam will stop and play. But there's an Easter egg where if you have the fairy familiar with you when she does that, the fairy sings, and that singing is of course you. Mm-hmm. And so did they tell you at all that this was going to be a secret in the game?
No! You were the one who told me that it was an Easter egg, because I was tagged in something on YouTube with the song, because I never know where to find stuff. And I loved this song because Jamie, the director, I knew I was going to be singing that day because I needed to prep the music. And so I thought it was part of the game. And so we were talking and you were like, that's an Easter egg. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's actually kind of cool because the fairy is... People like the fairy, but it's not necessarily the most useful of familiars in the game. So I think not everybody realized that this would happen. You have to have this particular familiar equipped, be in this particular point in the game, and decide to sit down and play the piano. So what did they give you any kind of indication of how this fairy should sound?
That I remember them. Did they play me the Japanese version? Again, I don't remember. But yeah, they knew that they wanted her high pitched, and not in my singing voice, and to really pitch her up because she's little. And I didn't want them to have to alter it after the fact, because then you would lose the essence of my voice. So we played with that. But that was about it. Jamie and the producers were really great about letting me enjoy her and keeping my vibrato the same and keeping my, phrasing the way I did it naturally. But it was more just where to pitch her.
We'll get off of Bloodstained just for a little bit. So we did actually ask our community for questions for you, and so we.
Oh, I hope they're easy. I hope they're easy questions.
Not only are they easy, you've already answered a couple of them. Oh. So I've already mixed some of them in. So one of the questions that is asked is basically, they're saying that your singing in Fire Emblem was breathtaking. Is the quote. There's, how did you get so good at singing, and how long did it take you to get that good?
I just have to first say the fans that I hear from Fire Emblem in regard to Azura have been. It reminded me why I not only love being in the gaming world, but why I need to stay in the gaming world. I've gotten so many letters from people who were depressed or really going through a hard time in life, and that song came into their life and helped them. And so I just want to say a huge thank you to people who allowed that music into their lives. I've been singing since I was little. I started privately training because I was a theater kid and took voice lessons starting when I was 11 and always knew I wanted to be on Broadway. So that's where I worked on my voice. And then I got to Broadway when I was in my 20s, did Les Miserables on Broadway, played Cosette, if you know that show. So I've always been a singer and worked really hard on my voice. And then when I was asked to sing in games, it was just so exciting because I got to mix the idea that I'm a storyteller with my voice. So yeah, I've just been singing forever. And that was an interesting session. I know I've spoken about that before, but the translation didn't really work with the music. So it was a lot of work. I got to give it to Bloodstained though, that they came in, I need to always be so careful with what I talk about, but their translation was it fit into the music. Because a lot of this stuff is originally in Japanese, and the Japanese phrasing is very different from the English phrasing, and the syllables are very different. So the Ocean's Gray Waves, the syllables didn't work with the music. So I actually got to work with the people who were translating it on that song. So it meant that much more to me because we worked on it together. But yeah, God, I love that song. And I love that it had so many versions of it.
When you go into a session, once you're asked to do a character, how do you go about coming up with the voice of the character? How much do you record multiple different versions and work with the director, or what's the thought process before you even step into the studio?
Well, before I step into the studio, I make sure I know the age of the character and backstory, which then give me where her pitch is, and if she's very young, what her energy is. But then the first few minutes of any session, the director will say, let's find the voice. And we'll start somewhere, and then maybe we'll do some improv to really find it. So before we record anything, you're finding the voice, and then the director will go, that's it, right there. And then we record it really quickly so we don't forget, and we use that as a reference. So we don't record multiple ideas. That's something you do in the audition process, where they're like, hey, give us 3 ideas of what this could sound like, and you can do that. But once you book it and you're in that session, you just want to have one idea. And it's all about age and what their experience is, like whether they're scared or whether they're new to this experience or to the world, whether they're confident, whether they're a fighter. With Azura, I knew that there was a shyness to her, not, as compared to Bloodless. So a lot of it is confidence level. And then you and the director, and I've worked with such incredible directors, you find it together, which is nice.
Nice. So as you went through this process and you played Anne, who is the young girl in Bloodstained, who within the whole story gets rescued and then works for Dominique, and then Dominique kind of disappears and she's in charge of the shop. So this is a much younger character, and just what is your recollection of playing that specific character?
I love playing young girls because they don't know much yet. And they don't know how horrible the world can be. There's just a sense of optimism. And I feel like deep down, I'm a pretty optimistic person too. My natural voice is optimistic. And so a girl like Anne thinks the best, doesn't know how dark the road could be ahead. So there's no judgment there. So I really love young girls. I do a lot of young girl characters. Not the I don't do like the mean catty ones. Like even the stuff I do for Mattel are all like the bright-eyed. The world is gonna be okay kind of young girl. So a lot of that is just digging into me. It was tough for that session again because I just had a baby and I was exhausted and I hadn't yet seen the world through a child's eyes. Now I have an almost 4-year-old, so I see it. So voicing young kids is even easier for me because I'm around one all the time. And I also voice a mom in this show called Shimajiro. It's a Korean show. And that I nail because I get the bit of exhaustion that comes with being a mom. But Anne, and also the visuals of Anne, what's so great is we had pictures of them. And that helps so much. You can really see a lot, especially with the eyes and with her clothes and her sweetness. Yeah.
Very good. So there's actually, players speculate that should we end up with the sequel to Bloodstained, that Anne could actually become more of a main character in that game. Maybe she'd be older. Maybe she'd be a little bit wiser. What do you think? How would you portray that character as a little bit older and maybe more experienced?
I think that's a great idea because I could use the work. And I also think when you have an adult in a game, they're who they are. You're not going to see them transform to a great extreme. But when you have a child, and this is why if you see in TV shows and they introduce a baby, they do that so you can see time passing because then the child gets older. But there's nothing more dramatic than a child going into teenager, going into like early adulthood. So I think there's more room to see someone mess up, someone go through hormones and emotions and teenage phase. I think you're going to get more drama that way and maybe more love and maybe more, everything. Because if you have adults, how much can an adult really change as far as, their views of the world? But Anne, God, that'd be so cool.
It definitely would be. Who knows what the future holds? We actually still have a lot of game to make for this game, as I always tell people on Discord. So slightly lighter question. Anne, as a character, has a great big pouch. What do you think she carries in that pouch in the world of Bloodstained?
Am I crazy, Jason? But I remember voicing, and I don't know, did I voice a rabbit or a bunny?
Yeah, well, there is a sort of bunny character in the game, an enemy that I think just kind of screams. I can't remember what she says, but yes, there is a character with bunny ears. It's an enemy. You run into a bunch of them.
Okay, so I feel like I was gonna say there's a bunny in her pouch because I was like, wait, didn't I voice a bunny?
They're not cute bunnies.
No, yeah. What's in her pouch? I think her pouch is full of things that bring her joy and comfort. So there are probably talisman. Is that the word?
Yep.
Pieces that when she holds, remind her of her past, give her strength, give her courage. And that can be a rock, a stone, a marble. There's definitely some chocolate in there because she's a young girl.
And she does work at a shop where they sell that kind of thing.
Yeah, there is always candy in there. Probably licorice. I see her as like the black licorice kid. And then there's probably paper or a pen or something to keep notes or communications. And then, but everything is important in that. There's nothing extraneous. You won't find any Werther's candies or dirty tissues in there.
She keeps it neat.
I think she keeps it neat.
Nice. Okay, so now what we're going to ask you to put on your game designer hat. So you have worked on a number.
Okay, wait, my game designer
hat.
Your
game designer hat.
Okay.
So you have worked on a number of video games, playing different characters and anime and all that. If you were to create a character for a video game, could be any type of video game. Could be a kid's video game for your kid. Could be, for Bloodstained. What kind of character would you like to make?
Okay, first of all, if I got to design a game and a character, I don't think I would do it for kids. Yes, I have a 4-year-old, but I would want it for grown-ups because I'm a grown-up and you can do so many more things. Oh, I would create a game where every character breaks out into song. It'd be like Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. I don't know if you know that TV show.
I'm familiar.
Well, so everyone just breaks out into song and constantly, and it'd be a musical. Jason, it would basically be a musical. I think I would do like Les Mis, the video game, and you could travel through the streets of Paris, and you could play Fantine, and I would be Fantine, but I would also voice little Cosette, and I would basically voice all the females, and and you get to like, and every game, every chapter is a new musical. This is happening in my head, right? See, I put on my game designer hat. And then the next
And it's an untapped market, the musical theater video game market.
And then the next game is Hamilton, and you get to go be in the room where it happened, and you get to be those people. And I think something magical is happening here, Jason.
We will get our teams on it right away.
Okay, good.
So, anyways, I really want to thank you for joining us today and answering questions for us. And just thank you so much for being a part of Bloodstained. It is so much bigger, I think, than any of us anticipated when we started the project. And your characters in particular are a huge part of that world. So just thank you for joining us, and thank you for being part of Bloodstained.
Thank you, and thank you to the fans who are playing it and posting videos so I can sort of play it through you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everybody from the Bloodstained community, and stay tuned. There's a lot more to come, so bye.
Bye.
Cinder and blight veil the air, bring the night, and your eyes they close. Sweet repose suspended, the hours fly, years go by. Then the morning comes, shadowed by the moon, and the angels for whom you speak